It's a day the sky is covered with ash-color clouds. Time to time the sky lights up with lightning. In this gloomy sky there appears a passenger plane. Sky starts to get more dark and full with lightning. Suddenly a bolt of lightning pierces the clouds and strikes the aircraft, sending a jolting shudder through its metal frame. The cabin lights flicker wildly as the plane plummets towards the dense, shadowy forest below. The chaos inside the cabin is palpable, a cacophony of terrified screams and the harsh metallic screech of tearing metal. The plane crash-landed into the deep forest. The young lady, Emma, jolts awake, her heart hammering in her chest. Her head swims with confusion as she tries to grasp the gravity of the situation. She looks around, her vision blurred and her hearing muffled by the ringing in her ears. Slowly, she unbuckles herself from the seat and stumbles to her feet, her legs wobbly. The door of the plane has been torn open by the impact, revealing a scene that seems almost untouched by the cataclysmic events she just endured. The storm has dissipated, and the forest stands tall and still, as if holding its breath. A gentle breeze whispers through the trees, carrying the sweet scent of pine and damp earth. She steps out into the clearing, the metal hull of the plane groaning in protest as it cools in the sudden calm. The serenity of the scene is starkly juxtaposed with the horror she's just survived. Emma's eyes scan the horizon, desperately searching for any sign of civilization, or even a hint of where she might be. The only sound that pierces the silence is the distant rush of water. Her throat is parched, and she realizes that the noise must be a waterfall. The promise of fresh water is like a siren's call, urging her to follow the sound. She stumbles through the underbrush, the crunch of twigs and leaves beneath her feet the only company she has. She starts to walk into the forest, the tall trees towering above her, their branches interlacing to form a natural canopy that blocks out the sun's light. The air is cool and damp, and she can feel the moisture seeping into her clothes, clinging to her skin. The scent of the forest is both calming and eerie, a stark reminder of how far removed she is from the world she knew. After a few minutes of walk, she reached the water stream. It's a small stream, but the sight of it sparkles in the dim light filtering through the canopy. She falls to her knees, cups her hands, and drinks greedily. The water is cold and tastes faintly of minerals, but it's the sweetest thing she's ever tasted. Her thirst quenched, she takes a moment to gather her thoughts. The silence of the forest is unnerving, and she's acutely aware of her own vulnerability. She flushed some water in her face. She get a feeling to get into the water. She starts to unbutton her shirt. She peeled her shirt off and then her pants. She steps into the stream, the icy water sending a shock up her spine. The current is surprisingly strong, and it tugs at her legs, but she wades in deeper, letting the water cleanse her of the grime and fear. The cold is a shock to her system, but it also feels strangely revitalizing. She came out from the water and sit on a rock beside the stream. The coldness of the stone seeps into her skin, but it's a comforting contrast to the warmth of her body. She dresses herself, shivering slightly. The fabric clings to her, but she's grateful for the clean feeling. In few minutes stands up and walks to her clothes. She starts to dress up again, and she starts to walk again. The forest is vast, and she feels lost, but the sound of the waterfall is a beacon that keeps her moving forward. Her feet are sore from walking on the uneven ground, and she's starting to feel the effects of the cold. She knows she needs to find shelter soon. In a few minutes of walk she enters an area with huge rocks. She feels like she is hearing something. She stops walking, and listens carefully. Her heart skips a beat as a low growl resonates through the trees. It's a sound she doesn't recognize, a sound that doesn't belong in the tranquil symphony of the forest. The hair on the back of her neck stands on end as instinct takes over. She not realize what animal is that, but her mind says run. And she does. She sprints through the forest, her breath coming in ragged gasps, the sound of her own panting echoing in her ears. The growl grows louder, closer. She can feel the creature's presence, a primal fear gripping her as the adrenaline pumps through her veins. The ground is uneven, and she stumbles several times, but she refuses to stop, pushing herself beyond what she thought she was capable of. She has no idea where she is running, but she didn't stop. She realizes that she can't hear the growl anymore. She slows down and looks around. She notices something in the distance that looks man-made. An abandoned building, its windows are shattered, and ivy is weaving through the cracks in the concrete, reclaiming the structure for the forest. The door hangs off its hinges, a gaping mouth in the side of the building, beckoning her with the promise of shelter. When she walks closer, she sees that the building is abandoned for a long time, the paint peeling off the walls, and the metal doors rusted and warped. But the prospect of shelter is too tempting to ignore. With trembling hands, she pushes the door open, the rusty hinges screeching like an angry animal. The musty smell of decay fills her nostrils, and she coughs, the dust rising from the floor like a mist. There is a long passageway in one side of the abandoned building. She steps in and feels the coldness of the concrete floor even through her shoes. She shivers, but the chill isn't just from the cold, it's from the eerie silence that seems to be watching her every move. She looks around, her eyes adjusting to the dim light filtering through the broken windows. Then suddenly her eyes caught a staircase running down low at the end of the passageway. She steps tentatively forward, her footfall echoing off the concrete walls. She's unsure if she should go down, but something about the quiet whispers of the shadows draws her in. The stairs are steep and narrow, leading to a heavy metal door that looks like it hasn't been opened in years. With a rising heartbeat, Emma decides to explore the mysterious staircase. The metal door at the bottom of the stairs is cold to the touch, the paint chipped away to reveal the metal beneath, a stark contrast to the warmth of the forest outside. She pulls it open with a grunt, and the rusty hinges scream in protest. The light from above casts a feeble beam into the space beyond, revealing an underground hallway. Her eyes open wide. The hallway is lightened with electricity, a stark contrast to the natural world outside. She steps into the room, and the door slams shut behind her, the finality of it making her jump. She looks around, her eyes adjusting to the flickering fluorescent lights, and sees a series of doors on either side. They look like cell doors. It is an underground prison. Her eyes open more wider as she moves forward. What is there at far away corner? A human figure. Her heart races as she takes tentative steps towards it, her eyes never leaving the shadowy form. She tries to convince herself it's just her imagination playing tricks, a hallucination brought on by shock and exhaustion, but as she gets closer, she sees it move, confirming it's real.
Can it be a real human?